Welcome back to Teradek's live continuing coverage of the International Broadcasting Convention 2014 edition in Amsterdam, the RAI Convention Center in the Netherlands. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for joining us. We're coming to you from the Teradek set in the Vitek Video Group brand booth because Teradek is a Vitek Group brand. And I got to tell you, Vitek is an amazing company, so is Teradek. I've got a rock star on set. It's not often we have a rock star on set, but it's a lot of fun when we do.
You're too kind, Michael.
Jeremy Young, you're a good friend. You have a great company. I've watched you grow. It's been amazing, and I love it. We're going to talk quickly about what you have here, and then I want to just jump into talking about codecs, because it's really important. Nobody knows more about codecs than you. You guys you started out making the Atomos, Ninja, and Samurai.
Yeah.
A recorder, a video monitor and recorder with a bunch of features, false color, focus peaking, all this stuff, and you could record on a regular spinning disk hard drive or an SSD.
Correct.
Record a ton of footage for very low cost, high bit rates, high quality.
Yeah, correct. And what we're showing here is our next evolution of that. So there's that 70,000 customers out there that have Ninjas and Samurais, and offering a 4K solution to them is obviously a big goal. And we teamed up with Sony. Panasonic got the GH4. We're promoting heavily together. There's the new FS7 from Sony, which is just pretty awesome.
Pretty amazing, yeah.
These two as a combination are pretty cool. But what the Shogun does is give those post-production recording codecs to affordable media, so that you don't have to crush to MPEG in order to work in a mobile environment.
So the Shogun is about $2,000. It's out right now. I mean, like in the next weeks, a few weeks it'll ship. It's a beautiful, stunning display. It's got all the features and more, waveform, vector scope, and all this other stuff that you come accustomed to with Atomos.
Yes.
And then you've got recording 4K in the Shogun. That's the difference. And you do HDMI and SDI.
Correct.
And you do it converts either one too.
Either one, yeah. So you can come in HDMI 4K and pump out 12G SDI 4K.
12G.
Yeah. So we got 12 gig SDI, 6 and 3 gig on it.
You're amazing.
And if you want to go, this
is $2,000.
Yeah, $2,000. Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
It also has, we've upped a bit of the operating system. We've got like 2:1 zoom when you can move around the screen. Basically, it's Atomos 6, our operating system, and that supports Cinema DNG RAW, 4K ProRes, all flavors, and Avid DNX HD. And we just had a meeting with them about the HR, so we are more than likely going to implement that pretty soon.
All right, I want to get into codecs. Before we do, you have a battery pack on the bottom.
I do.
And that, to me, this is the coolest thing, because I think it's not only great for it will give you DC in and out. It will do 2 of your batteries, which are amazing, and they're hot swappable, so you never lose power. You swap one while the other one's still going. And this little battery pack will also power the Shogun, the camera, the microphones, lights, and even your phone.
Correct.
And the greatest thing I think about it is that because it'll power your phone, I feel like I want one just to carry in my bag on a daily basis.
It's funny you say that. I brought it over, like we finished all finished the product, and so I brought it over from Australia, and twice I've plugged it in, my phone into this and my iPad to charge it. So you've got LEDs at the bottom here. That indicates obviously which battery you're on, and then it swaps between the two. So you should never be without power, provided you're paying attention. It has 3 DC outs, as you said, to power multiple devices and USB. When you charge it by plugging it into the wall, it's a super fast charger internal, so you don't have to take the batteries off ever, actually, for charging. You just leave them on there, and in 2 hours you'll have full charge.
That's amazing, and it will literally by itself power your iPhone 4 times with one battery.
Correct.
And then, of course, it'll power the camera, it'll power the Shogun, it'll power whatever you need, which is awesome, and it's going to ship in a few months with a bunch of different plates.
It'll ship at the same so on the Shogun schedule, we're shipping out at the end of October, so it's about 4 or 5 weeks away. And at the same time, because we include this in the box for the Shogun.
You do?
Yeah, it's inside.
Are you serious?
No. And this is $295.
Yeah.
And we include that in the box here for the $2,000.
That's why I'm shocked, because that's $300, which I think is totally worth it, even just for my cell phone.
Yeah.
And of course, all these other things I need to power all the time. And now you include it with the Shogun, which I'm ordering one, so I'll have one.
Yeah.
Except it will never be with the Shogun.
Yeah, it'll be with you.
So I'm going to need another one.
Well, I just was over at GTEC's booth, and I just plugged the power station into their drive unit, their little drive unit. powered right
it
up.
Powers everything. This is unbelievable. And lights and all sorts of stuff. Unbelievable. You're going to sell a ton of those. Congratulations. The whole setup, it's phenomenal. I love it. You got to check it out, Atomos.com. Listen, codecs. I got to know. I mean, you're the codec expert. Now we've got all these codecs. We've got Cinema DNG. We've got ARRI. We've got Red. We've got Sony S-Log. We've got Canon C-Log. We've got, oh my God, ProRes 444, 422. We've got everything, all these codecs. What are the differences between these codecs? Obviously, shooting RAW is, we understand that. You're shooting basically photographic still images for each frame. So that's different than the way we traditionally shoot video. But what are the differences between all these codecs? What makes one better than another?
Well, first of all, RAW is the non-debayed image from the sensor. So the sensor has 4 in 1 pixel.
Yeah.
There's 4 little squares inside each one, and that is a red, green, and there's another red, and then a white, and they calibrate. And when you turn that into an image that we can see, which is a standard color space called Rec 709 or BT 2020 in 4K. There is a conversion that's done from that to get to video, and that's a video standard that can then be played on computers, on televisions. It's just the baseline that everyone knows. If you send this, it's going to be able to be displayed. So why people record RAW is they want to choose where they end up in the color world. Whereas video, which is what ProRes is, it's a video codec, so the camera does the debayering for them and then pumps it into this standard format. ProRes is that, DNX is that, most editing codecs are that. And what you talked about, Red, ARRI, Cinema DNG, well, Cinema DNG is just a wrapper for RAW codecs from each sensor. And the sensor has different patterns and different ways that they do it, and they're patented and they're proprietary. Right, so ARRI RAW, Red RAW can be wrapped in Cinema DNG if they so choose.
It gets very heady and confusing even. I think what you hit on is the right thing. Is like people like a RAW photograph because it gives them the most color space, the most color information.
However, the problem is it takes a long time to post-produce.
Well,
and a lot of money to post-produce.
So that's what I was going to get to and they like the same thing for video because it gives them the same control and ability, dynamic range, and all this.
And so ProRes is a halfway house between MPEG, which is highly compressed, everything already done for you.
Right.
And RAW's nothing done to it yet.
Right.
They're both not great if you want speed and flexibility, right? But then if you go ProRes, it's 10-bit, 422, so the quality's high enough that you can move it around, similar to RAW, right?
But
RAW's,
you don't have
RAW, you can move around 100%, right?
Right.
ProRes, you move around about 30-40%.
Right.
So you get more latitude with RAW, of course, but it's also much slower. So most people like to use ProRes, which is why it's gone nuts.
Right.
And Avid DNX HD.
I like ProRes, and the reason why is because I like efficiency and speed, and I mean, we just did a video in RAW 4K, and it's a nightmare. We had to bring it into DaVinci, make proxies, then bring it into the NLE, then edit it, then bring it back, then you have to color correct, then you have to send it back to put your final graphics on. It's an absolute nightmare, and you're ending up in ProRes at the end of the day.
Yeah,
that's how you're delivering.
So our theory is calibrate your screens. Ours are all calibratable, right, with the Spider unit. What's your colors on here? We have C-Log, S-Log buttons on here. We have 3D LUTs in here. You can see what it's going to look like. Yeah. Right? So if you're recording RAW, you can see what it's going to look like. But what we say for the masses...
Shoot it right.
Shoot it right at the start. Make sure you know what you're looking at and that you've got the shot well enough that you can then have that 30-40% latitude that you get with ProRes. You can tweak it, but you're not so far out. Whereas RAW... If you're a little bit out, you've got quite a lot of latitude to bring it in.
That's what I feel. I feel like RAW is for the Steven Spielbergs.
Absolutely. I 100% agree.
You have a huge budget and a ton of time. Great. Go do that.
And MPEG's for mum and dad.
Right, exactly.
And ProRes is for pros.
Exactly. And hire Dale Grand to color correct your film and all that. And if you're not doing that, then shoot ProRes, shoot it right, light it right, calibrate your screen with the new Atomos Spider, and make sure you're doing it right, and then you can fix the little bit of latitude, and you're better than MPEG, and you're super quick. So you've either got more time to be creative, or
you can pump out more productions for more profit.
That's what speed and efficiency. That's what I say. So, what about AVC HD? I don't love that codec, and they've got all sorts of new flavors of that. Is that an MPEG compression?
That's MPEG, but it's iframe only. So there's two types of MPEG.
Yeah.
There's IBP frame and GOP structures, where they're referencing other frames and then referencing those reference frames and referencing the reference frames. So they're just going like a Russian doll, cascading down, but the data rate gets smaller. What AVC Intra is a iframe only codec with the same MPEG compression, but for each frame. It's not. There's no referencing.
How do you keep up with all this?
10 years under a very intelligent CEO at Canopus. He was top engineer, and I'd ask a lot of questions, and he gave a lot of answers, and gave me a lot of books to read. And really just probably getting in front of customers and having to explain to them, why should I use 422 and not 420?
And you know what I like about your products is that I can choose. Like I could shoot Cinema DNG on this.
You could.
I'd rather shoot ProRes, but I could.
Yeah, or someone might ask for Cinema DNG.
Yeah.
So often as the person who's getting paid to do this,
you got to deliver what they want.
You got to deliver what they ask. And I get a lot of that saying, the reason I'm doing ProRes, I don't really like it at the start, right, is because my client wants it. And then afterwards they go, oh, that was a great workflow. I'm going to keep using that. And that's, I think, the key to an industry and being successful, especially in a technical industry, is you've got to produce something that works out of the box exceptionally well from the start, solves problems at an affordable price. If you do that, then you tell your friends, have you seen that Atomos thing? Have you seen that power station?
That sounds very familiar. It sounds exactly like how it's worked out. What's the future for Atomos?
Look, the 4K, this is our first 4K foray.
Yeah.
We definitely have lots of ideas on how to, we went Ninja Star, very small one. We think there's probably a market for that into the future, but the processors aren't ready for that quite yet. Maybe 6 months to a year down the track, we can start that project. We bring technology today that works exceptionally well, and we don't overspec it, because if you do that, it gets expensive. It pushes out the time of development, and then everyone's sitting there waiting for the product, which a lot of companies do in our industry, and we don't agree with that.
You guys definitely deliver on time and on schedule, and I think it's an overachieved product always. I love it. You've got cables now. You've got
CFast cards.
You've got CFast cards. You've got the Ninja Star, just a recorder for no monitor for
all those
drones,
MPEG cameras,
all sorts of MPEG cameras for all sorts of stuff. You've got the Shogun, the Ninja Blade, the Samurai Blade. You've got the calibration, the Spider calibration.
Wow, that's a lot of products now, isn't it?
And the battery, a lot of products.
The battery thing. Well, they're kind of evolved to just meeting customers' needs. When I talk to people and there's like an overwhelming need, and like our continuous power system, the battery thing came from. Like this device is because the cameras were running out before our recorders were. So it was pointless having a recorder that could go forever, and the camera was only like 2 hours.
Oh, it's the funniest thing. Everybody goes, you have enough Atomos batteries? I go, I'm not even worried. If I have 2, I'm fine. And if I have like 10 of them. And if I have 2, I'm fine. If I have 4, I could last a week.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Jeremy Young, the CEO of Atomos, the founder, thank you so much for joining us. You are a true rock star. I appreciate the knowledge of the codecs. It's super interesting, especially to the audience. And you got to check out Atomos.com for all these amazing products. We'll be back at IBC with a whole lot more, so keep it locked here. We'll be back in just a minute.